Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. I have one quick gameplay for you, and as you might be able to see or suss out from the title of this video, I'm testing a little bit of a new deck. This is an adaptation for 1v1 Commander from the Lab Maniacs recent Tana Tymna Blood Pod deck. I don't think Blood Moon is well positioned in the 1v1 meta as much as it is in the multiplayer paper meta. So I've cut the Blood Moons from the Blood Pod deck. I know it's odd, but so I've went with just a TnT true Stax like tempo control style gameplay. It's very similar to Marath, but the way that I think it's different is instead of having burn in the command zone, I have draw. I still have a token generator in the form of Tana, but Tymna is giving me draw power, so we'll see. I don't know if it's better or worse. So this game, I'm playing against another Tana deck, but this one's paired with Ikra Shadiki. So I'm playing against a Jund setup. Ikra is Menace, gain life toughness, whenever any creature deals damage. Alright, so 2 combat matters, commanders, same as me. Alright, so I see a decent opening hand. I fully intend to get a card advantage spell here because he's Jund. He is going to out card advantage me out, grind me to a halt. So if I get a grind breaker like Sylvan Library, I should be in commanding position. Marsh Flats will get me I believe I get white-green Savannah or white-black-green. I don't remember. We'll see. Alright, so I get to be on the play as well. My opponent has Temple. Fantastic. Alright. So that means if he has to deal with Sylvan, he has to do it on his second turn. Meaning I get to then untap Wasteland plus Fauna Shaman. And then the following turn, I'll have cast Tymna, attack with Fauna, draw a card. So I'll have 2 card advantage sources building. If my opponent has to tap has an answer to Sylvan Library on his turn. Alright, Dark Side. No response. Vamp up the Sylvan. I'll show the deck list at the end for anyone who wants to see the full 99 or 98 that I'm working with. Sorry, force a habit. Marsh, pick up. Yeah, I get the Savannah. I think Savannah's the more relevant duel here, and I need to make sure that I have white mana for... I don't know why I got white mana. I should have gotten... I can't... Oh, because I can't get a Taiga. Taiga would have been my first choice, and that's not an option. So I went with the white source because Tymna is more relevant to be able to play. And if he wastes my black source, it cuts me off Tymna. But I want to have a secondary white source. So that way I can use, like, cast Tymna off scrub waste plains and maybe have white or green open for something. So it makes the most sense there, I think. Especially with how this hand is playing out. So Slam Sylvan, my opponent does nothing. Hissing Quagmire, another tap land. Alright, so because he didn't deal with it, I'm on an even better card advantage train. And I think the correct play here would have been to play Sphere Resistance and Wasteland Temple. Cut him off red mana because red is going to be more disruptive than black is against this hand. And slamming Sphere, he did nothing with 1 mana this turn. So that means if he has 1 mana spell, land plus a 1 mana spell, he would be able to do nothing... He would be able to do he would have done something on this past turn unless he really needed the black mana. So if he wants to pay 2 mana and like Inquisition me, I don't think I mind that. I think I stayed away from that play because I don't I do have the brush land. What am I talking about? So I should have Wastelanded here. I'm not saying my line was correct. I should have played Wasteland here. I think that is the correct play. Wasteland plus Sphere Resistance and just say go. Next turn, I can play Fauna Shaman and discard, and then the following turn, I can untap and discard Elesh Norn and start tutoring. Probably would have been correct. I decided I'm going to try to deploy Tymna here because this is a totally greedy play. But if I can stick Tymna and then follow with Wasteland plus Sphere, there's no way that he comes back from Tymna plus Sylvan Library underneath a Wasteland Sphere. It's just outright over if I can establish that. So this is a greedy line. And my opponent, to their credit, has the answer to my greedy line. Unlicensed Disintegration, destroy a creature. If he has an artifact, I take 3. Alright, fine. It's a 3 mana kill spell, I guess. That may burn me. I don't really mind. Pick up Stoneforge. Very interesting play here. So I decide to put back a land because I still have 2 that I can play. And I believe this turn is waste my opponent off red and deploy Stoneforge. Yeah, deploy Stoneforge. And I'm going to fetch up the Mirror Breaker for Sphere Resistance, and that is Sword of Feast and Famine. Because my spells are allowed to cost one more, because if I get to cast twice as many spells in a turn, I'm in great shape. And I have this Felidar Guardian to flicker this Stoneforge at some point if I want to. My opponent decides they don't like this, and I immediately find out what kind of deck he's on. My opponent is playing Land Destruction Jund in EDH, and I really think the Gruul version of this deck is like far and away significant, and my opponent's still missing red mana, so that Wasteland was the absolute correct target, and I may have color hosed my opponent, which is fantastic. I might have stranded some cards in his hand. Tana's not coming down anytime soon unless he top decks untapped red source, so he hits my black mana correctly. But that said, my hand, I've already tried to cast Tymna once and he spent removal, so she costs 5. My hand is totally non-black, so I am okay with losing the scrubland for the time being. I get a Plateau and a Jitte. I decide to push back the Skull Clamp. I'm still worried about him being an aggressive deck. And right now, I just want to leverage my advantage as much as I can. And my plan here is to use Stoneforge Mystic. And I'm glad that I didn't play the Stony Silence out, because I did find the Mystic. I want him to make him think that I have something, or make him spend his mana on his turn. So I put out Sword, and before I can do anything with it, he's going to Putrefy. And I think this is incorrect. I'm not playing a counterspell deck. Make me spend the mana and try to equip Sword first. You're just doing yourself a favor by playing it that way, because that means that I've wasted 2 more mana on my turn. I'm not going to be able to get a counterspell of some sort. Just make me spend the mana. Why did you do this now? Or you could kill Stoneforge in response, make me spend 2 mana, maybe you have another removal spell, kill the sword later. Doing it now is absolutely incorrect, I think. But I played to make sure to try to give him an incorrect play. Alright, I don't need the Plateau, because I'm not planning to play Tymna. This turn is all about developing, so I get a Sphere, and I'm going to use Stoneforge to put Jitte into play. And I keep 2 basics up just so the land destruction deck that might top deck Wasteland can't take me off Jitte in any point that I don't want to play it. So I do it on his end step, put Jitte into play. I pick up Plateau, Trinisphere, Skull Clamp. And before I can decide if I'm going to take 8, which I think I would have at least taken 4 here, I probably would have put Skull Clamp back because I have a card advantage going off Sylvan. And this turn, I'm most likely going to deploy Fauna Shaman. And actually, no, I might have put Trinisphere back, because I can play Plateau, deploy Fauna Shaman, and then use Stoneforge, equip Stoneforge with Jitte and crash in, getting counters on the Jitte, winning the creature matchup. Tana can never come down then, because I have the 2 counters sitting there. Then the following turn, I'll be able to play out Skull Clamp, or use Fauna Shaman, discard Elish Norn, and get any number of things. So I think this is a correct scoop. My opponent didn't draw land for 2 turns in a row. I have them locked under a Sphere. And right now, my first target for what I'm thinking to get for Fauna Shaman would be Eternal Witness to regrow Wasteland and cut him off his Hissing Quagmire. Now, the reason you target something like Hissing Quagmire over Bayou is because if at some point your opponent gets back the land you destroy, you want it to not be a land that they're okay with playing. So you destroy the tap land. Even though on the surface Bayou is a stronger land, it's only stronger when they're playing it. Once they're both in play and you've untapped, they are virtually identical lands, with the effect of coffers notwithstanding. So I want to kill the land that's going to be harder for my opponent to replay off a Crucible, or loam back and then play. It's going to set him back tempo. So you destroy the worst land. So if you're wastelanding a blue-white duel and you have a choice between a Tundra and a Hollowed Fountain, you target the Hollowed Fountain because it's going to cost 2 life for your opponent to get it untapped again. You don't target the Tundra, even though the Tundra is the better land in hand. On the field, the better land is, they're virtually identical. The better land is the one that, if it leaves play, it's easier for them to replay. So you target the one that's harder to replay. So I probably would have tried to set up a Wasteland lock, because I would have Eternal Witness, get back Wasteland, play Wasteland, kill a thing. Felidar Guardian, flicker Eternal Witness, get back Wasteland, use Wasteland, kill the thing. And at that point, my opponent would most likely be lost. I would also deploy Trinisphere probably after this Wasteland, so that way there's really no coming out of it. Your spells that cost less than 3 cost 3. Your 3-drops cost 4. It's just an absolutely miserable board state for my opponent, and this sphere just puts the game away. I'll be able to replay. Be able to play Tana this coming turn if I so chose, but I think I definitely would have gone with a Fauna Shaman and Equip route just to try to put a clock on my opponent. This deck is just like the Marath deck. It folds to like well-timed mass removal, although this deck is much harder to play mass removal against because it has attacks at different angles than Marath. Marath is really flood the board, attack, 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 kill them. And this deck has backdoor combos. It has very cool interactions that, oh my god, I got Toxic Deluged. Oh no, good thing Tymna's drawn me 3 cards over the last 3 turns. So I'm not that far behind on card advantage, or I'm at parity for card advantage. So it's a very cool deck to play, and let's jump over to deck list before I continue any further. Tana Tymna, very cool deck. Relatively budget. Now, granted, I'm saying relatively budget, sitting with a Mox Diamond, duels in the deck, but a lot of the base of the creatures can probably be 50 tickets, give or take. They're not terribly expensive creatures across anything. I was picking up a couple foils whenever they were relatively close in price. I picked that up a while ago. Sire of Insanity, I think, was a difference of like 3 pennies US. So might as well pick up the foil. Kiki Jiki, like 2.5 tickets or something. And I think from the Vault one with that abysmal art is even cheaper than this one. So relatively budget, mana base notwithstanding. It's definitely a deck that you can put together if you have a bunch of tickets lying around and you're looking to just play a different style of deck. And that's why I've been trying to go with these non-blue routes for a little bit. I want to try sort of a proactive game plan, and I think that's where my chops need to improve the most as a player and as someone who's trying to get better at competitive EDH. It's where I think that I need to improve. And the way to do that is to learn these creature interactive decks. Right now, in paper, I'm playing, I believe, a Thrasios Bruce Tarl deck, and it's all Protean Hulk, Flash Hulk, Boomweaver combo, Kiki combo. It's using Volrath Shapeshifter, like the very old Type 1 Protean Hulk combos, Type 1.5 Flash Hulk combos, with Volrath Shapeshifter copying Protean Hulk. It's really cool. So the deck's so convoluted, you have to give haste to a Feldon of the Third Path by getting Feldon. At one point, you get Priest of Urabrask Feldon, get the 3 red mana. Then the next loop, you get the next time that you loop the Protean Hulk trigger, you're getting something like Lightning Mauler, Skirk Prospector. The line is so convoluted. I think maybe I'll pull it up and I'll post that as the. Maybe I'll just post it in the comments down below. I'll edit the comments as a link to my Imgur page, and I'll include that sort of line, or I'll do it in the next video. It's really cool, interactive in the form of so many steps that you need to take to get it right, and I think that's one of the cool things about the deck. So this deck's fairly straightforward: Life, Death, Fire Covenant. The big cuts were just the Blood Moon effects, and we're playing Kiki Felidar, and the reason you're playing Felidar over Resto is because Resto can't be brought back by Karmic Guide, or Resto can't flicker Karmic Guide. Felidar can. You can pod into Felidar. Felidar flickers and untaps pod. You pod Birthing Pod into... you pod away Felidar Guardian, getting Karmic Guide. You Karmic Guide back Felidar. Felidar untaps pod. You pod Felidar into Kiki, which will copy Karmic Guide, and then bring back Felidar Guardian, which will untap and flicker Kiki, and there's your combo. So you have an entire line off of 3 mana and podding into Felidar Guardian, and then having 3 mana left over. 3 mana, 6 life, game. Because Felidar Guardian can flicker that pod of yours. It is significantly better than Restoration Angel. Stranglehold, it's very straightforward stacks. Thalia, I think am I playing 3? No, I'm playing Village Bellringer as the other shenanigan, because you can pod into 3, untap pod, go into Felidar, and then do that same line. Fire Covenant and Offenses testing right now. Worldly Tutor, Deathrite, Crop Rotation, all the dorks. Pyroblast, Vamp, Reanimate Seal, Swords, Resources, Tutor, no Path. I don't think Path is needed, especially in the Stax deck. Null Rod, absolutely necessary in the meta right now, especially with Breya being so prevalent. This is coming from a Breya player. You need to have Null Rod in your deck if you're not playing Breya. You need to know how you beat Breya, and that is having Null Rod in your deck. Or it's one of the best ways to know that you can beat Breya. Because I'm in white, I get to play Stone and Silence. Surprisingly pricey card on Moto. Probably one of the most pricey cards in the deck, mana base notwithstanding, like from here over. But very, very fun deck so far. I've been enjoying it. I'm about 50% on my match win rate with the Tana Tymna deck so far. I'm still tuning it. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video to anyone you think might enjoy my content. If you see any misplays in the game, let me know in the comments down below if I didn't talk about them. And I have a new goal for the channel. By December of 2017, December 1st, I think my goal is to be at 2,000 subscribers. So if you want to help me out, get to that goal, click that like button. It helps me get onto trending videos. If someone's watching other EDH content, it helps my stuff show up in that sidebar. I get about 30% of my views, according to my analytics, from people who see it in the side of the window after they watch a video, and they're like, "Ooh, that looks cool. I'll click on that." That's about 30% of the content the viewership that I get on this channel, and people discovering the channel. So if you hit that like button, it really helps out. I appreciate it a ton, and it costs you absolutely nothing to do. If you want to support the channel in a monetary fashion, you can support me on Patreon. You get access to exclusive vids and content that is strictly for my Patreon supporters. So I will see you all in the next one. Leave me a comment down below if you like the Tana Tymna build so far. Big shout out to the Lab Maniacs. I'll leave their link in the description as well for bringing this deck to sort of the light a little bit. And I think I'm gonna really enjoy playing this. I might actually have to build it in paper at some point. Make a few edits. Always got to tweak it a little bit, but we'll have to see. All right, see you all in the next one.